I am so pleased to welcome Heather on. She is a client who is kind enough to sit in her car and talk with us and share her story with us all. Heather, we have an amazing group of women in their late 30s and 40s who are also on the motherhood journey. All of them are here looking for inspiration, so I know you're going to provide some. Some of them are already part of the Magical Mama program. Others are considering it. So again, Heather, thank you so much. Are you able to unmute so that you can start by just sharing your fertility journey?
I'm Heather, and like I said, I'm sitting in my car. I'm 36 weeks pregnant today. I don't know if you can see my belly.
Hi, baby.
But he's really and I'm having a boy who's really active, and he's gotten way more active in the last few days. Just and like I can feel him moving and turning, and but I'm 45 years old, and I've been on this journey for over 10 years. I actually got pregnant at 44, and then I turned 45 a couple months later. I I froze my eggs initially when I was 34, and at that time, so that would have been, I think that was like 2013 or 14, I'm not sure. And at that time, they told me that I had plenty of eggs. They got 24 in one cycle, and I was going to do another cycle because I knew I wanted to be a mom, but I wasn't ready. My relationship at the time wasn't very stable, and so I wanted to go back to school for some things, and so various personal reasons I didn't feel like I was ready, and so I froze my eggs, um, and then I didn't attempt to use them for about 10 until I think it was uh, the fall of 2022. And when I went to use them, none of them were viable. And well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if they were viable or not. They all made it to day 3 and then didn't continue to develop the embryos. And so, and then just to back up, in between that time, um, I had a partner that had a sperm issue, male factor, I think it's called. So our only option was to do IVF. So I know Julie works with a lot of people to get pregnant naturally, and I do think that the work that we did together was very just a completely essential part of the success of my cycle, even though it was IVF. And I'll get into that. But one thing I wanted to touch on for anyone who is going through the IVF, the fertility doctor journey aspect of it, I was made to feel like I was so broken and there was something wrong with me. In between the time of the egg freezing and then going to use them, I did cycles. I did IUI cycles, and I did one other egg retrieval cycle that was not successful, where they got in at 41 years old, they got like 15 eggs, but then none of them were worked out. And every time they would make me feel like it was me and there was something wrong with me. And that is what I just want to kind of caution people about, because I went into the working with the fertility doctors with this big open heart, thinking that they were going to try to help me have a baby. So they must have the best of intentions. And I was naive to the fact that it is a business and they don't tell you when they make mistakes and or offer you your money back. They just kind of blame the patient, and that's just the nature of that business. And So I wish somebody would have told me that not to take it so personally, because I didn't know. And so by the time, so I found Julie because I started doing research on how to improve my egg quality, because that was the feedback I was getting was, oh, your eggs are no good anymore, because, you know, they start telling women that around 35.
I can't,
Which
yeah, it's
is
getting
just
younger. It
ridiculous.
used to be 40. Now it's 35, I hear. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. And so, and then so the doctor that I had gone to, I live in San Diego, the doctor I had gone to in San Diego that I had done the fertility or the agricultural cycle with in 2021, he told me that my eggs were no good and that my only option was a donor. And so that's when I went to use my eggs that were frozen later that year. Um, and sorry, there's a call coming through. And then none of those worked out, which was with a different doctor because I had previously lived in the Midwest and that doctor was in St. Louis, Missouri. So two different doctors now were telling me that my eggs were no good. And I had found Julie's egg expert or egg book, egg quality book.
Cracking the
And
egg myth. Yeah.
yeah, and I had been reading that. And so I reached out to her and decided to start working with her at that time because after my eggs were the ones that were frozen for 10 years, that was like my backup of all plans, you know, feeling like that was my safety net. And when that didn't work out, it had just been blow after blow. And I was just so emotionally at a low point and feeling like I was not part of the whole circle of life and God had forgotten about me, and just was really in a place emotionally that it was I was having trouble pulling myself out of around having a baby. And so I started working with Julie, and the emotional aspect of it was really, really essential for me to get out of that, that place of disappointment and despair and, depression. I mean, I use that word carefully. It wasn't like a clinical depression by any means, but I was definitely not in a positive vibration around it. And I was, I didn't want to be, if someone was pregnant, I didn't feel happy for them. I felt like, oh, what about me? That kind of attitudes, which I learned through working with Julie, that pushes away what we want to come in, and that I had to drop all of that, and I had to be happy for people, and I had to be joyful even though I wasn't getting what I wanted. I had to believe that it was coming to me even though I couldn't see it yet. And one of the things I learned from working with her is that to vision, because in that place, I was stuck in thinking about everything I wanted that I didn't have and wasn't getting. And so working with her, I shifted out of that into, okay, what would my life look like if I had what I wanted already? How would I feel? Like, why do I want this thing so bad? Because I think I'm going to feel this way. I think my life's going to look and feel like this. And so, well, what if I just started acting as if I already had those things? And so that's what I did. And I started going around people that had babies. I started going intentionally to places where there were families and children, and not avoiding that whole thing, because before I would avoid it because I felt like, I stuck out like a sore thumb because I was the only one who didn't have kids, or, and so that was a big aspect of it, was just shifting my emotional and energetic state to be more positive and open and happy for people who did have all the things I wanted, and treating myself like I was already a part of that world instead of so separate from it. And then there was other aspects too that really helped, which was finding a doctor that would work with me in a way that I could still use my own eggs. And what I learned was that the doctors that I had been working with had been overstimulating me to get that quantity of eggs. They'd been sacrificing the quality, and nobody had explained that to me. And so I worked with a doctor that Julie suggested that I would have never heard of otherwise. And I didn't follow his protocol 100%. Was another aspect of working with Julie, was like, do what feels right for you. Don't let somebody else dictate all of that. And so, for example, they wanted me to do a procedure to scrape my uterus clean. And their reasoning was, well, by the time you get to be your age, it's bound that one of your cycles wouldn't have cleaned itself out right, and so there's just probably debris in there that we need to scrape out, and that maybe could resonate with somebody, right? But it didn't resonate with me. I had a feeling of like a sense of respect for the intelligence of that whole system, that it knows what it's doing, and that energetically, like, scraping it out was just felt like the wrong direction. I wanted something to stick. And so it wasn't scientific. That was just how I felt and what felt right for me. So there were other aspects of his protocol that I absolutely did follow, which was the lower stimulation, to only get a couple of eggs and not sacrifice that quality for the quantity. And but then, and so I did one cycle with this doctor, and the first transfer, I got pregnant at 44 in June of last year. And then I turned 45 in August. So, and then just continuing to get on these calls, that's been really nice that she's left that, even though my 6 months of working with her has been over, that she's left that option open to continue to get on the calls and listen in, because once you get pregnant, there's a whole new level, a whole new set of challenges and stressors and fears, with being pregnant, and especially if you are in your 40s, they treat you like you're high risk. So there's a lot of doctor's appointments and a lot of tests and a lot of messaging that, something could be wrong because of your age. And so just continuing to practice and be around the messages that Julie teaches is really been helpful for me. So anything else I should touch on, or you want to?
You had talked about, I wanted to go to a couple of things that you mentioned, which was the whole shifting your energy around welcoming that baby energy of going to places where there were babies and not avoiding those situations. What was that process like? Because was it uncomfortable, or like, did you have to push yourself to be able to do that? Or was it just like, oh, it's okay? I mean, like, how did that work out?
Well, there were some things that were pretty easy, like, because I live in San Diego by the beach, so I could just go to the beach, and there's kids at the beach, and don't really have to like have a direct interaction with anybody.
Oh.
I can just be around it and like be happy, and like really like shifting my internal attitude about it, right? Instead of looking at someone with a baby or a toddler as like, oh, they have something I don't have. Instead, just feeling like genuine like happiness for them, and trusting that is also coming in my life, instead of blocking it by feeling like, I don't know, I don't want to say jealous, but
Right.
I would have this like sense of feeling like left out, like unfair, like it's not fair, look what they have that I don't, kind of feeling I would carry around.
Were you able to make that switch quickly though, or that's what I'm curious about? Like, how were you, or did it just kind of gradually softened in terms of, yeah, being more welcoming of that and just more the perspective of it's coming for me rather than why isn't it me?
Well, I think that when you explained that that is like that is blocking, you know, I didn't realize I was doing that. I
Oh,
didn't understand that whole aspect of
oh,
manifesting, that I was, blocking the thing that I wanted so bad by the perception of how I was thinking about it, you
oh,
know?
okay.
Uh, and so, um, I mean, I think it was pretty quickly when once I understood what that attitude, how that attitude was impacting me. And
Mhm,
what really resonated with me a lot was when you talked about younger women, younger people, right? And how they naturally get pregnant so easily.
mhm,
And and we're taught that that's because, oh, their egg quality is better, or you're just more fertile when you're young. But which may or may not be true. I'm not debating that, but there is another aspect, which is their attitude. They're just lighter. They haven't lived through all the years of disappointment and stressors. They don't, I'm in my 40s, so I have the responsibility to pay all the bills, to maintain my career, to, like that when you're 20 something, you don't have any of those stressors. You're just light and free. And so it made me kind of step back and look at myself and like, well, regardless of the motherhood journey, I don't want to let life get to me like that,
mhm.
to where I'm just getting heavier and heavier energetically, not physically, but, and energetically, and letting disappointments, just carrying them like
Yeah,
a bag of luggage with me everywhere I go. Like I need to let that stuff go. I need to, um, still enjoy and be able to be present in my life, and be carefree and have fun, and not, take myself so seriously. And um, I didn't even really realize I was doing it, until you started talking about it, because
oh, so it was more,
I was so in it, you know.
oh, so it's just more of an awareness. As soon as you became aware of it, you started shifting really right away. That's what it sounds like to me.
I think it was pretty quickly because
Yeah,
we had just started. It was within the 6 months that we worked together.
yeah,
And I could feel, like, as far as the connection to a spirit baby, I, there was like an energetic feeling that I could feel. And
mm,
there was something that I would talk to. Like, even when I was doing my egg retrieval, I was like, I promise I'm going to be right back. Like, because they took the eggs out. And then that was another aspect too, was they wanted to do a 5-day freeze and biopsy and all of that. And that did not feel right to me either. And Julie you talked about how you lose so many in that process, because that's just stressful for the embryos to be out of their natural environment. And so there was a lot of trust there too, right? That I had to just trust that everything was going to be okay, and I didn't need to do that extra testing that they were so adamant that I needed to do. Um, that because anyway, that's a little off the topic of what you're talking about. But
yeah. How, how were you able to, because, and that was something that I really noticed in you as well, was that shift to really trusting yourself that I don't think was really there in the beginning when we first started to work together. Like, how were you able to cultivate that? Because you called it respect for your body's intelligence. How were you able to nurture that and cultivate that so that, like, you trusted it to be, and, in the face of this doctor who has this experience and is telling you, you really need to do this, because you were able to advocate for yourself, which was huge. And it's really courageous to do that, saying, no, I don't feel right doing this. I want to do it my way. So how were you able to trust in your body enough and in your gut enough to be able to kind of say, I just need you to do this for me, to the fertility doctor?
Well, I think again, not to keep plugging you, but that was a that was also part, I was working with you at the same time. And so that, and also the meditations that we would do where we would kind of talk to our, our different organs, and meditation in general, just getting centered, um, and then just concepts that you kind of talked about, like my body knows how to breathe without me telling it what to do, and my body knows how to have a cycle. I had, and for me, I had regular cycles my whole life, right? But that shouldn't, anybody who doesn't have regular cycles, that doesn't just, whatever, that doesn't mean anything. That was just my story. There's lots of people that don't have regular cycles that get pregnant all the time. But, I just had a sense of like, my body's doing all this stuff that I totally don't understand every single day. And, it's digesting food, it's whatever. And so I had never thought about that before, but I don't have to tell it what to do. I don't have, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the people who are listening to this call either aren't on live or will be listening to the recording. They're already part of the Magical Mama program. Do you have any specific advice for those who are who are going to be working with me or continue to work with me?
I would say just trust the process and trust Julie that she knows what she's doing. She has the best of intentions. She wouldn't have, accepted to work with you if she didn't already have a sense that you were going to be successful. And just believe in, if you're feeling unsure about that, anything, just believe in that this is going to work. And if you're this guided and driven to become a mother, that there's a reason for that, and there is a spirit that wants to come into your life and be your child. And also, as much as possible, which I didn't always do, but as much as possible, I would get the most out of the calls if I could actually join them live and not just listen to the recording. And also if I could have my camera on and stop, don't just keep my camera off and like do other things, but actually really engage as much as possible. And I feel like Julie's vibration is really high too, and something about the other women, all of us together wanting, the same thing and having the same desire and meditating together, that's really powerful and really attractive to the, these little beautiful little spirits that are looking for a way to come into this life.
Yeah. It's like we're creating, and I thank you for bringing that up. And as you were bringing it up, it was like, I was kind of imagining we're creating this kind of like sandbox, this container for that time that we're together on the weekly calls for the babies to join us. And it's a very high frequency of welcoming, of invitation for the babies. And it's just like a regular occurrence. And that's kind of what we're doing, is we're creating this container that's very pure to allow the babies to connect with the future mothers. And so that's what I feel like is happening on one level for sure. There are women on this call who aren't going to be able to work with me for any number of reasons. So for those who aren't working with me, do you have any kind of practical, or I don't know, not so practical advice for them in terms of moving forward?
To become a mother?
Yeah, in terms of just staying positive and just keeping the momentum up?
I think just to trust that your body was made for it. If it's really what you want, it will happen. Like I said, I mentioned I was 44 and I couldn't, but I couldn't picture like my body ever doing what it's doing right now. And there's just so much intelligence into it that the body has and that knows exactly what to do, and it's amazing, and I'm not doing it. I can't take credit for it. Like this, I don't know what's going on, but but my body does, and and your body does too. If it's really what you want, you're sure it's what you want. Just trust that it's going to happen, and then take whatever action if you're trying naturally, or if you need, if you're going through a doctor, you have to actually, it's not going to magically happen if there's no sperm introduced into the situation, but I do believe that it will happen. And Julie says a lot. There's more, what do you say? There's more spirits that want to get in than there are
mothers wanting to get pregnant. There are way more babies that want to come in to be incarnated than there are mothers that are that want to be pregnant, for sure. There's a whole long spiritual line that wraps around the block many times. Yeah, that's not an issue at all, at all. Any last words of encouragement or advice to the listeners, Heather?
I don't think so. I mean, just what I've already said. If you really feel drawn to become a mother, then I believe that there's a reason for that, and that it will happen, and to just not get discouraged by the messaging of, about age in the world. Like, and speaking of, one of the things that helped me with, that Julie suggested was like, just get off social media, get off all the blogs, get off, pay close attention to the messages, be really protective of what messaging you allow into your world. Even what shows you're watching. Like, I used to like to watch like Sons of Anarchy and like really violent shows, and that I shifted that for this part of my life to watch comedies and rom-coms, and just to be aware of like what I'm letting in, and to keep my energy light, to keep my attitude light, to if something happens that is upsetting, it doesn't have to take up the rest of my day, that I can do things to shift that energy through, and get out, shift back into a higher vibration, and I don't have to let it take me down for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I love that you bring it up. Actually, we talk about the distractions as week number 1. It's like the very first step, and so we're definitely going to talk about that. Thank you so much, Heather, for being here to just share your story and to encourage other women in their 40s to keep moving forward with positivity. Thanks again, and I'll be in touch, Heather.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye, Heather. Thanks again.
Bye.